Hello, I'm Alice McLean. I'm an ED physician and also one of the PGY supervisors.
Kia ora, I'm Diane. I'm one of the medicine consultants, also one of the educational supervisors.
Ko aora ki te manga, ko waitaki te awa, ko take tima te waka, ko kaitahu kāti mamu ai waitahu ko iwi, ko Matt Wheeler tōku ingoa. I'm one of the general physicians and the Māori health physician for the hospital.
Kia ora, I'm Courtney. I'm one of the PGY1s.
Hello, I'm Taylor. I'm one of the PGY2 health officers.
Hi, I'm Liv. I am a PGY2 at Tauranga Hospital. I was an Otago grad. Today I'm here to talk to you guys about how to apply for your first job. In terms of Tauranga, one of the key things is the cover letter. So in the cover letter we want to know some stuff about you, what you enjoy doing outside of work, but we also want to know what you're going to bring to the hospital when, if you get a job here as well. And we also want to know why you want to come to Tauranga. Is it, the lifestyle? Is it the hospital here? Do you have whānau here? If you're wondering whether or not you should come and visit Tauranga Hospital, it's definitely not compulsory, but I definitely recommend it. It's quite a good way to find out what it's like living in Tauranga or the Mount. You can go to the brunch places, as I'm sure you've seen Tim at, and you can also see what it's like to work in the hospital. Someone can come and give you a bit of a tour around the wards, around the CAF, see what food's on the menu, and then that'll help you decide whether or not you think that Tauranga Hospital will be a good fit for you. In terms of assimilating into the life of a PGY1 from TI, it's definitely not easy. There are ups and downs. Personally, I really like Tauranga because there are always regs around. There are surge regs, med regs, and you just pick up the phone and call them for advice whenever you need it. It's a small enough hospital that there's 24 house officers in each year, and so you get to know each other really, really quickly, and you'll get to know the regs by their first names and often the consultants as well, which makes working here much more enjoyable. We also have a social team as well, so lots of social events every quarter, and that helps everyone to get to know one another, and that's always something to look forward to as well.
Kia ora, I'm Michael. I'm one of the PGY2s here at Tauranga Hospital. Currently I'm working in the ED, and I have been for the last 3 months. Originally I'm from Hawke's Bay, studied in Auckland, and I'm an Auckland grad. And I did my last year of study, my TI year here at Tauranga, which is one of the reasons that drove me to apply and want to work here. So in your PGY2 year, there's more opportunities, more attachments than your PGY1 year that you can choose to do. So in terms of medical attachments, we have cardiology and oncology. In terms of the surgical attachments, you can continue to do surgery or orthopedics, but there's also urology and ENT/opthal house officer jobs. There's an ED job that you can do, and there's also a variety of community attachments that people really enjoy. So there's opportunities for GP for 3 months, sexual health, palliative care, and public health, with a rural attachment in Te Kaha, which is on the east coast past Whakatane, and that's an opportunity to spend 3 months in a very rural and isolated place with a great community there, and the people that have done it have really loved it and enjoyed it and said that's the best part of their first 2 years of being a house officer. So there's so many opportunities for you going into the future. Cool.
Kia ora and kia ora. Ko Ngāti Toa Rangatira me Ngāti Pirau Oku Iwi, no Rarotonga me Porirua Ahau, ko Kyla Martinga Tuku Ingoa. So kia ora everyone, my name's Kyla. I am both Cook Island Māori and Māori. My mum left the Cook Islands when she was younger, moved to Porirua, and that's where I grew up. I am currently a second-year house officer here based in Tauranga Hospital and have just graduated university from Dunedin in 2019. I'm going to talk about transitioning from training intern year into becoming a house officer, which obviously a lot of you guys, that's going to be in your mind at the moment. When I think back to my first few days, first few weeks as a house officer, it was a really fun time, and I can happily say that, and I think that's full credit to Tauranga Hospital, who helped support us throughout the whole way. And the first thing they did was in the first week we had an orientation, and that's essentially just meeting everyone who I guess is relevant, all the different disciplinaries, them asking us questions, us asking them questions, and where to go to for help. So that was really nice way to bridge all the questions we had kind of lulling in our mind. Next, I think, next thing to talk about is really at the end of that orientation, we were able to meet up with who we were switching jobs with, so the house officer on their final few days, which was quite nice to actually see what the job is like and see kind of firsthand what we'll actually be doing in the coming days. So that was really nice. And then lastly, something that I think makes people the most nervous is the after hour shift. So the 8 till 4 typical job, everyone's around, so that's quite nice, you're fully supported. But it's the after hour shifts where you are the first doctor where nurses and patients go to for a lot of the wards, and that can be quite daunting when you first start up. But thankfully Tauranga Hospital actually has you buddy up with someone, so someone like myself or other house officers within the first few weeks of your shift, so that you have someone to go to for help. Even though I'm sure you know the stuff, you've worked so hard to get here, but it's just a nice way to just have that person before you then reach out to help, or you might not need to because you've got the right tools and right management to be able to go forward by yourself, which was, yes, really helpful and made the after hour shifts a lot less scary for us, which was really nice. One thing that really struck out for me, obviously being Māori, was the fact that Tauranga Hospital has a dedicated ward for Māori patients and their whānau. So it's a medical ward, and the nurses and doctors and other disciplinary are actually amazing at working with this high need demographic. As we all know that Māori health statistics are pretty poor, so it's awesome to see that Tauranga Hospital is actually trying to make a difference. And now that I've actually worked in that department, it's amazing seeing them kōrero Māori with the patients, the nurses. It's honestly so inspiring. So for myself, being Māori in Pacifica, we've got quite a close-knit community here, which is awesome, obviously, and it's mostly run by consultants. So we'll get together, so all the Pacifica doctors and other nurses, etc. will get together if there's a conference on, or we'll Zoom in, and then we'll catch up afterwards kind of informally, and it's just nice getting or building those relationships outside of the hospital, so that when we are crossing paths in the hospital we actually know who each other are, and that's really nice. And that's the same with the Māori doctors here. That's a bit new at the moment. One of the consultants has just kind of formally started that, and it's quite exciting to see where that's all going to go next, but it's great. It's really amazing.
G'day, I'm Tim. I'm one of the PGY2s at Tauranga Hospital, and I've been here for the past couple of years as a TI, and now as a a house officer. And I guess today I'm talking a bit about the lifestyle and what it's like to live in Tauranga and the Mount. Where do I even start? It's a pretty incredible place to live. There are a ridiculous amount of things to do. The lifestyle, I've only ever worked at one place after graduating, but I can't imagine it gets much better than how it is here. Anything from the ocean to the hills, you can do whatever you like. One notable thing about especially living in the Mount is that it's the place where all your mates come to do Instagram stories. You actually live in that spot, so all you need to do on a nice summer's weekend is go through your Instagram feed, and if you're driven by that kind of thing, then this is the place for you. It's absolutely beautiful. You're minutes away from the beach wherever you are. You're minutes away from some really top quality mountain biking tracks if you're good at that. I'm terrible at it, but some people are. Likewise, if you're good at surfing. I'm not very good at surfing either. People are always keen to get out and do stuff. Me personally, I love getting out in the ocean and love fishing. So whether it's on a mate's boat, and surprisingly a few of the RMOs actually do have boats down here, or just swimming off the beach to Rabbit Island and going for a spearfish. Again, I'm not great and don't always catch a lot, but we give it a good try. And it's a great place to pick up activities like that where you may not do it before. Obviously, this does fit in with your work-life balance, and like any DHB, you're going to have to put in a good bit of mahi. But at the same time, same side as that, is that beyond work, you've got so many things on your doorstep that if you do want to get out and do something on an afternoon, it's very, very accessible. You're not stuck in traffic on your way to get to places. You've got people around that are keen, you've got facilities, whether you want to join a tennis club, you want to play after work football on Wednesdays with the ED consultants, and they'll push you around and give you a bad bruising, then you can do that if you're good enough. If you're not good enough, then go practice first and then go turn up, because they play pretty seriously. But there's never short of a group of people keen to do things. The social life is incredible. We have RMO events each quarter to kick things off, welcome everyone in, and to celebrate the end of a quarter. It's a great way of tying in and sort of relying on these networks that you build within the hospital, outside of the hospital, because you go through so much in your day-to-day work life that you've got a lot of shared experiences. And the thing that I found easiest about coming here was when you pick up the phone, you call someone for help, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be somebody you shared a bit of life and a bit of experience with outside of the 4 walls of the hospital. Yeah, so no matter what I take away from my time in Tauranga, I know that I've always got a good whānau of people. And yeah, I'm not sure if you get communities this close elsewhere, but it's better than I could have hoped for, so yeah.
Kia ora, ko Damaris tōku ingoa. I'm in my 3rd year since I left medical school, so that's PGY3 at Tauranga Hospital. And I love working in Tauranga so much that I don't really want to leave just yet. So I'm going to share what options are available after your 1st and 2nd year as a house officer. And show that you can keep progressing your career forward while staying in Tauranga. Some options that are available after you finish 1st and 2nd year is you can stay on in Tauranga and keep being a house officer in whatever area you've enjoyed or that you want to get some more experience in. There's also senior house officer roles that are available. So this is in 6-month rotations in GP, obstetrics and gynecology and ED. And they're really good roles where you get a little bit more responsibility and a bit longer on each specialty, but you still have registrars around to help you and support you. You can also become a registrar, and again, really nice step up when you really know the team of people that you're working with. And you can also start other training programs like anaesthetics training, radiology training and GP, which is a really cool option to work as a house officer in the area where you might want to become a GP, because you really got connections with the hospital and the community, and you've had a chance to know the systems and how the place works. Tauranga is really cool because once you start working there, the consultants all become kind of invested in your learning, and they like to see you progress in your career choice. So that's a really nice vibe to be a part of. We've also got a few other additional support things. So there's some really awesome Māori doctors in the hospital that have almost like a mentoring sort of annual monthly meeting that we all catch up and have like a little hui together, and that's a really cool opportunity to be a part of that group of people as well. And then the Pacific doctors, they're awesome, they're really nice, and we sometimes have dinners together, which is a cool thing to be a part of too. But yeah, just having others in the hospital that are there to support you and mentor you along your journey too.
And so what we want to do is also just talk a little bit about our recruitment process, who we are, like what process we follow, who we're looking for, so that we can drag it out. And I think that the video shows a little bit about what it's like to work here from the point of view of the PGY group. We're going to end up probably having, where's the, oh, here we go. So with us in the room, we've introduced ourselves at the start, so hopefully you remember all of that. But in terms of the process, ACE gives us a massive list of people. It was
460.
Oh yeah, something like that. Yeah, and you obviously rank us ahead of that, and we don't know what you rank us, but we look at every single one of those applications and what you've done.
Yes.
Courtney and Dale are looking at it like, really, you sign up for this? And we have PGY influence as well, so that you know your peers are looking at who you are as well, and we will look at your cover letter, your CV, your references, and your academics and scholarships. But what we're trying to get is an idea of who you are, so that we know where you will fit with us. We then shortlist you for interview, and then we interview. And we will interview by however you will let us interview. Generally, face-to-face works really well, but when the world is open, we're used to interview from wherever you are in an elective, and however in the internet or technology would let us do it by on the day. And then how we rank you depends on the combination of all of those things, and a lot of slightly esoteric things, but how you will fit in our team, and what we're looking for is people who are going to be the consultants, the GPs, the specialists for the future in the Bay. And so we're looking for the people that we want to be our colleagues in the future. Don't have to visit, but wherever you're applying, whether it's us, Wellington, anywhere, you should actually know where you're applying to, because it's going to be 2 years being a year, and you want to know that we're the right place for you as much as you're the right place for us. Yeah.
So we run a group that meets monthly and has social events outside of that, and it's there to support Māori junior doctors, especially in the additional aspects that are sometimes required, especially around cultural loading when you first start. The Medical Council has been doing some work with trying to identify what Māori and Pacifica doctors need in additional, and we've previously added to that work. You know, we've got general medical, surgical, ED, GP training here, and so often what happens is you do the vast majority of your training here, you go away for a few years to do the final steps, and then you come back again, and that's sort of what we're really looking for. And the person who will be the ideal fit will be someone who we can see already you don't have to know what specialty you are, but if you've identified yourself, especially within your cover letter, as someone who's looking long term here, not just coming to sit here on the beach for a year and then disappear. This is still a job at the end of the day. It's a great place to work, but that's part and parcel of Tauranga Hospital.
The good thing about it is we're a small enough hospital to be a community. So what we want to be is colleagues, and you to come and support and grow our community. And then after the end of us, we rank you, and you hopefully agree with our ranking and match up, and you end up working here. I think we've said all of this, but we're all, again, we're also looking for people who are going to try and improve our population and on our community's health, and have no doubt about it. And then to try and do that, as said in the video, we give you a quite thorough orientation. We try to support you as best we can. The first 2 years as a doctor can be very stressful, and we try to make them as supported and as fun as we can. And as the guys will test that, you will end up, and we know from our experiences, you end up making friends for life with the people that you train, you go through your first 2 years with, because there's a lot of experiences that you'll have together. And it says, so on the chat, we've got, do we need to bring baking when we meet the RMO office? Well, look, I brought baking for everyone that was coming here, so I mean, that was mostly for pets. So no, you don't have to bring baking, but
don't listen to him. Baking's required.
Yeah. That baking always brings you, gives you kudos for the nurses.
Yeah.
And what are the key things you look for in applicants? Oh, I would like to answer that question. Okay.
So I think some of the key things are, we obviously want people that are good. We want people that are intelligent, that have already shown that they have the capacity to learn, and that they have the capacity to retain that information. We want people that have shown that they have capacity to be empathetic. We also want people that have ideally some support and some tie to the area, because the first 2 years are quite a stressful time. And if you have family, friends, community, anything that ties you to the area, that's often a really big tell. We do really strongly encourage our Māori and Pacifica junior doctors here. We really like to bring them here. Matt's done a lot of work to try and increase the amount of support, and with the Kopap Award, that's really been an excellent way for people to grow and develop. So those are some of the things that we're looking for in addition to baking.
Just quickly answer Laura's chat, which is which is basically saying emails to organise a visit to the hospital. Unfortunately, in the RMO office, they've had some staff sickness, which has made it more difficult. The best thing to do is probably to phone up the RMO office and to say who's the best person to email, and that will be your best way forward. The next question is probably Jordan's question to answer. You've only got two there, Jordan. The first one you're asking is about your supervision, and it's the same in all hospitals that you go through. It'll be an equal process. So in each quarter, you'll have a clinical supervisor who will be responsible for your day-to-day supervision and giving you feedback at the start, middle, and end of the run. And then over the 2 years, you have an educational supervisor, of which Matt, Diane, and I are 3 of them. And we have educational supervisors, an orthopod, a surgeon, ED is mine, 2 physicians, and pediatrician. So we try to match you to stuff that you find you'll find useful, and then we take an overview of you from the whole. And first, Educational Supervisors Week, you can contact us anytime, and generally we'll hear if you're having difficulty and try and support you, but the aim is to try and make sure you're well supported so you don't have the difficulty, and that you sail through it without realising the supports that are underneath you.
And are there opportunities similar to upskilling, i.e. ultrasound training?
Well, yes, there are. When was that one?
That's the second one.
Yeah.
The bottom line.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, so again, all of the runs that you have should have opportunities for getting skills, and ultrasound training is something that I'm quite keen to try and improve.
Right.
In any DHB, I don't think we've got the answer yet, but we're hoping that we're trying to get a solution to that. And if you want to do ED, then we're definitely good for starting for that.
Yeah, we do also have protected teaching time. So there's an hour on Thursdays for PGY1 and PGY2 for protected teaching. I know in PGY2 we do quite a bit of procedure-driven things. Like this year so far, we've had placement of chest tubes, placement of, how to do ascites drains, lumbar punctures, things like that. So, okay.
So just on a side note for the people who, there's a couple of other questions. So please identify yourselves as a couple. There's nothing more tragic than having one couple get in and one couple don't, and we do take that into consideration. It is preferable for you to identify yourselves in your cover letter and on your CVs that you're together and you're applying together. It is not.
Yeah, just don't copy your cover letters. Try and write something different, because you are both different people.
You're individuals, and so you're not applying because your partner wants to come to Tauranga. You've got and it has to be personal to yourselves. But please do identify yourselves. We don't take a specific number of Otago versus Auckland graduates. When I was a house surgeon here, it was evenly matched, and so there's not a deliberate attempt to choose a certain amount of people.
It's about who you are rather than where you come from.
And
the style of the interview, it's very harsh, lights. We try to make it as friendly as possible. We try to put you at ease. We know interviews are stressful. What we're trying to find out is what you like, who you are, rather than intimidate you.
Yeah. So it's a couple of questions that are all designed to be specifically somewhat vague, so that we get an idea of an individual response.
We should ask these guys, how was the interview? Because you guys went through it.
Yeah. After it was done, I realized it wasn't as bad as you kind of build it up in your head. So that's probably like any exam or test or anything that you do. It seems scary, but then you do it. Everyone was really nice. So did try to put you at ease, and they're all questions that everyone should be able to answer, because they are vague, so everyone's going to have their own response to it.
And there isn't really a right answer to any of them. It's more, it's deliberately trying to explore you rather than knowledge. Food, coffee, and accommodation, as in working here. Coffee is, well, it depends where you go. You can get really bad coffee, but there are some really nice places.
I will give anyone a list of recommendations of the right places to go for coffee.
Exactly.
Which includes our office.
Which includes our office. Food, there's plenty of places around to get stuff. It depends what you're interested in. There is a lot of more up and coming stuff, and accommodation, I guess, is reasonably tough.
It's hard
at the moment.
In the Mount, it's really hard, especially starting over the summer when it's the busiest time in the Mount. So if you are looking at getting a job here, I would say start looking very early. And some people end up having to stay with friends and family in the first couple of weeks until it gets to about February, when there becomes more rentals available. But that's definitely a big
and also when the registrars leave as well.
At the bridge changeover.
Because there is a Tauranga doctors page that often people will post accommodation options if they come available, so good to join that if you are working here. But getting to know people, like Taylor said, then more options come available after the peak summer, which is when you guys start working, so it can be a bit tough, but there's lots of people that did stay with family and friends and eventually found it, and they're fine.
we think we provide a great place to live and learn. And I think that's the most important thing, that it's fun and there's jokes and there's laughter. So it's not a super serious place, but there's good quality medicine that happens. And everyone generally is pretty friendly. So there's not stand-up arguments in a corridor. You know, there is we run by the DHB care principles, and that really talks about all-in-one team, compassion, empathy, and responsiveness. And so that's sort of very much what we look for in people, to sort of join that and not be a sore thumb sticking out of that.
Right. With COVID, everybody knows it's been a lot more challenging, and everywhere in the country it can be quite busy. So we all know that. We all here just tested negative right before we came into the room. That's why we took our masks off. So, but yeah, we know how challenging it is with COVID, and we try to acknowledge that and get on with that. And of course, with the changes to the structure of the DHBs coming up, we will have to work through that too. But at the same time, we all go through it together, and we try to support you through it.
Thank you all very much for coming along and sharing your experiences and insights to working for Tauranga Hospital. I know it's